Hello everybody and welcome to another fly tying session with your host Scott. In this session we're not actually going to be doing any tying at all, and I'll show you what I mean very shortly. So we're going to be creating an artificial bait for carp fishing that looks like a morsel of dog kibble, widely available in most shops. I even get mine from a petrol station, and this is what we're going for. Something that looks a bit like that. Now, to create this pattern, we're going to need a few things. We're going to need a hook, of course, which we've got in the vise, although it's not going to be in the vise for very long. That's my chosen hook, the Amarok Chod hook in size 6, a barbless hook. I'll go into that in a little bit more detail when I'm making the fly. We're going to need some super glue. This one I use is called 151 Hard as Nails, and the key with this one is it's got a brush. That's very important. You need a super glue with a brush. And then we're going to need a couple of paints. These are made by Revell. They're an enamel paint, and they're made for painting your model Spitfires and so on and so forth. Now the Airfix ones are acrylic and they don't work because they're water based now. They used to be enamel paints but not anymore. If you've got the old Airfix paints, great stuff. The colour that I've found is the closest I can get to a match is matte 82. However, when the when the dog kibble gets wet, it does go much paler after a while, and you may want to dispense with the brown paint altogether. One bit of paint that you can't dispense with, it's very important for bite detection, is you're going to need some sort of fluorescent orange paint. Now this one's also made by Revell, and this one's in Silky Matte 332. Your paint floats with this and everything. Is great stuff. Make sure you've got a few tins of that as a fisherman in general. And I've actually transferred those paints so that I haven't got to worry about cleaning brushes and faffing about, to nail varnish bottles. I can even paint these flies in the field if I need to, if they've lost a bit of paint. I have actually got a box full. Excuse me, that's my lure box. I was tying a lure earlier. That's my carp box. Those are my night ones there, and those are the ones I use in the day. And then just there are the glow-in-the-dark versions, which I will go over shortly. So, in the next section of the video, you should see me making it from a different camera angle. Okay, so this is a strange camera angle for you to be viewing fly tying from. Technically this isn't fly tying really, this is creating an artificial bait for use with fly fishing tackle, so call it what we will. So one material I didn't mention, I thought was fairly obvious, but I will mention it now. You're going to need a craft foam. This one's 2mm thick and it's like a flesh colour. You can just use this and not paint it. Once the dog kibble gets wet and swells up, it does actually go quite pale, so you could dispense with the brown paint later on in the video if you wanted to. So we're going to end up with we want to try and get a strip this sort of size and shape. This one is 85mm long and it's about 5mm wide, and to cut it you're going to need a craft knife. It's the only way to get a good clean edge on it, otherwise you're going to be trimming away at it to clean it up. You use a steel rule, just run the blade down like that, and there we go. That's pretty much it. Now the idea is we're going to end up with something like that. The little ones I've made earlier, as it were. So then we're going to get our super glue, and we're going to shape it using the glue. Now there is an easier way to achieve this shape. If you can find a block of foam a few millimeters thick, maybe as much as 2 inches thick. You can use a coring device to create a core the same diameter as that, and then just cut it into 5mm segments, and you'll have your dog biscuits done in no time then. So what I did there is I had a little bit of glue on the end of the foam and just folded it over. That's just to get you started. Now the idea is you try and use as little glue as possible. Literally just a smidgen. Because the more glue there is, the less chance of it actually sticking properly. And then you're going to roll it up. Sort of like that. You don't want to go all the way, because the glue won't go all the way. It'll be dry by the time you get up there. Continue rolling it. Try and keep it in line. Like that. Now you can't really wear gloves to do this. I have tried. You end up with glue stuck to your thumb regardless. So there's just I suppose it's what we would call a occupational hazard. So once that's shaped, you've obviously got a bit of a step there. You want to get rid of that by getting your craft knife and just going in at a very shallow angle and cutting a wedge off the side of it. So a gentle sawing action should be enough to get yourself a nice clean cut. Then we're going to use our scissors to shape it the rest of the way. You're going to take the sharp edge off the side of the bait. Now, another reason why I haven't bought a foam block is because I haven't got a lot of room here for stuff, so a foam block would take up a lot of space. Also, this is the original way the fly was made, and I wanted to demonstrate it on camera. Now, those of you who are more astute would realise that looks nothing like a dog kibble really. It's too flat. A dog kibble's more of a pellet shape. Now the reason this works quite well is because from underneath it looks like the dog biscuit after it's swelled slightly, and it floats in the water, not lengthways but end on end, so the fish actually sees a circular shape from underneath, and that's what you're going for. You're trying to create the shape that you want, how the fish would see it, which is in the surface film and from beneath. You can just fine trim it to get the shape and the texture right. Have it tidy up a bit. Now I've got 2 needles here. One's quite thin and sharp. That's going to create the pilot hole, and then I've got a thick one there to create the to make the hole just a little bit bigger so you can get a hook in there. You want the needle to go straight through the middle, lengthways, and there's a reason for that. Is because the fly won't sit right on the water unless it goes through lengthways. There we go. So that's your pilot hole. Then go in the same way with the other needle. You're always going from the same hole. And there you go. Give it a few twists on there. And then extract the needle. Now, one of the problems I had was attaching this to the hook when I was coming up with this particular pattern. I thought about hair rigging it, and then I realised that the hair would probably break in the cast or get tangled up or what have you. The other thing is the fish. They realise quite quickly that what they've bitten into isn't actually real and expel it quite quickly. They're not like trout where they grab hold of something and hold on. You've literally got to be like lightning to hook them. So I needed the hook to be in the bait really in order for it to work correctly. So in order for it to stick to the hook, I realised that the hook was covered in Teflon and that the glue wouldn't stick to Teflon very well, so I actually got a file and I take off the Teflon coating on the shank. Don't sand the eye, because it will cut into your line with the rough edges. So you should do it until it goes shiny like that, and then put some grooves in with the sharp edge of the file like that, and that just gives the glue somewhere to grip. It's got no problem sticking to the foam, it's sticking to the hook that's the problem. And then you're going to get your bait. I find it difficult to call it a fly. And you're just going to pop it on the hook like so, eye first. Then you're going to pull it round the bend, exposing the shank. And then you can get some sort of pliers, or you can even use a tiny little bench vise if you want to, just to hold on to it while you do this. I'm using this is actually a set of Ackle pliers that comes as a part of a display case for your flies. I use it as a drying stand. And you're going to get your glue. Pop it on the shank, and then pull the bait up to the eye, and hold it 90 degrees to the hook. And just wait for the glue to go off. Now, there's a reason I chose this particular type of hook. This is called an Armour Rock hook. I think that's the brand. They're barbless, size 6, and it's a chod hook. Now, a chod is a specific carp rig, and I believe it's some sort of pop-up rig. I'm not really well versed in carp fishing, if I'm honest. But the reason I chose it is because it's lightweight but very, very strong. You don't want too heavy of a hook, because the bait will either sink or you won't be able to actually fly cast it. It just won't cast properly. So once that's gone off, you want to get some more glue, a nice big thick drop of it, and put it where the bend of the hook enters the bait, right there, and it should flow via capillary action down the shank of the hook. You can help it along by giving it a squeeze. Just let that flow in. Like so. And then you want to paint the whole thing with glue. And the reason you do that is so that you can get the paint to stick to it if you choose to paint it. If you're not painting it, then you don't need to put any more glue on it really. You want a very light coating. Now the fumes that come off this will make your eyes sting, and they're quite noxious, so you might want to wear some sort of face mask while you're doing it. I'm not particularly bothered about doing things like that, but some of you guys might be. And there we are. Now that will catch fish as it is, but I like to put at least an orange spot on the top for sight indication. I use a fluoro orange paint, and As soon as that dot disappears, you know the fish has got it, and that's when you strike. And you've got to be very quick because it'll be in and out in a millisecond. Anyway, I'll catch you in the next section where I paint the fly, if we can call it that. Okay, so now that the glue has dried, we can now apply the paint to it. Now it's completely up to you what you do. If you want to use them for night fishing for carp, I would leave them as they are and not bother painting them. And just put a spot of glow-in-the-dark paint on the top so you can see it. And a bit of glow-in-the-dark paint on the bottom so that the carp can see it. Don't ask me why, but it works. The other way to do it is to paint the whole thing for fishing in the day and then use this paint. And the idea is what the carp will do, especially as they get wary to the method. They'll just come up and nose the fly or splash at it, and they don't actually take it. You should only strike when you see that orange dot disappear. A bit like watching a float go under, let's say. We've trained ourselves to strike as soon as a float disappears, and if you use orange floats, more the power to you. This should come as natural to you. The only problem is if you then go and dry fly fish for trout, you end up striking a little bit too early. But plenty of practice and you'll get there. So we're going to paint this one up. First of all, we're going to slather a load of this brown paint on. Trying to do it so you guys can see. You've got a good thick layer on there. If you dilute the paint a little bit with a drop of acetone, it will actually dry quicker. That's something worth noting. Got the whole thing covered, but try not to get it on the eye of the hook. There's one thing that me and my friend learned when we was mastering this method, was if there was any paint on the eye, the knots would slip quite easily, and it'd just be a disaster. You'd end up losing flies all day. So there we are. Now I'm going to let that dry, and I'll come back to you just to add the orange spot. Okay, and welcome back. Now we're going to add the orange spot. This is mainly for bite indication, and so that you can see the fly. And you need to be able to discern the fly from your loose feed. So you want quite a. You just literally want to drop it on, like so. You want it to be fairly prominent. And there we go, that's pretty much it. Create a little dome of orange paint on the top. And that's our foam dog kibble fly. And just so you guys know, this is what we were trying to copy. It does swell up a little bit under the water, and eventually the sizes will match. So there we are. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye for now.